In the 11th century, a new force emerged from the steppes of Central Asia that would fundamentally reshape the Islamic world and redefine the geopolitical map of the Middle East, the Seljuk Turks. The rise of the Seljuk Empire was not simply a story of nomadic conquest. It marked a pivotal transformation in Islamic civilization, injecting new energy into Sunni orthodoxy, reviving Persian political traditions, and setting the stage for centuries of conflict with Byzantines, Crusaders, and other Muslim powers. Today, we'll explore the deep history of the Seljuk Empire's rise and the intricate web of conflicts that followed. The Seljuks were originally part of the Knight branch of the Oghuz Turks nomadic tribes from the Central Asian steppes. Under the leadership of Seljuk ibn Dukak and his descendants, the tribe embraced Islam around the 10th century, specifically aligning with Sunni orthodoxy. This conversion was politically significant. It gave the Seljuks a role in the Islamic world as defenders of the Sunni faith, particularly against the Shia Buyids and the Fatimid Caliphate. By the early 11th century, the Seljuks began moving westward into Greater Khorasan, modern-day northeastern Iran, where they would confront the Ghaznavid Empire. One of the critical early victories for this Seljuks came at the Battle of Dandanakan in 1040. Facing the powerful Ghaznavid army of Sultan Madad I, the Seljuks, led by Togrul and Shogri Beg, employed superior mobility and steppe warfare tactics. Their victory dismantled Ghaznavid authority in the Iranian plateau and opened the gates to Persia. This was not merely a military success, it was the birth of a new empire. With this victory, the Seljuks established control over Khorasan and began the process of building a centralized state rooted in Persian administrative traditions and Islamic legitimacy. Togrul Beg, the founder of the Seljuk Empire, was more than a military leader. He understood the symbolic power of the Abbasid Caliphate, which had been under the thumb of the Shia Buyid dynasty in Baghdad. In 1055, at the Caliph's invitation, Togrul marched into Baghdad and ousted the Buyids. This was a major turning point. The Caliph granted Togrul the title Sultan, marking the beginning of the Seljuk role as protectors of Sunni Islam. This realignment reshaped the religious map of the Islamic world, solidifying Sunni dominance in the heartlands of the Middle East. Togrul was succeeded by his nephew, Alp Arslan, who expanded the empire's borders and set the stage for one of the most consequential battles in medieval history, Manzikert. Facing a massive Byzantine force led by Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes, Alp Arslan's army employed strategic feigned retreats and encirclement tactics, defeating the Byzantines and capturing the emperor himself. This victory opened Anatolia to Turkic migration and eventually led to the gradual Turkification of the region. But more than a battlefield triumph, Manzikert signaled the weakening of Byzantine power and the shifting balance of power toward the Muslim world. Under Malik Shah I and his Grand Vizier Nizam al-Mulk, the Seljuk Empire reached its zenith. This era was marked by administrative reforms, architectural patronage, and the founding of institutions like the Nizamiya Madrasas, which became centers for Sunni legal and theological training. Malik Shah's reign represents the height of Seljuk sophistication, a Turkic ruling elite governing through Persianate bureaucracy and legitimized by Sunni Islam. But beneath this prosperity lay the seeds of internal conflict. After Malik Shah's death in 1092, the empire quickly fractured into competing sultanates and atabegates. Ironically, at the very moment of their greatest territorial control, the Seljuks were ill-prepared for the next wave of confrontation, the Crusades. The fragmented Seljuk world, particularly in Syria and Anatolia, proved vulnerable to the First Crusade. Jerusalem, Antioch, and Edessa fell to the Crusaders, not because of Crusader strength alone, but due to the disunity among Seljuk princes and the inability to coordinate a unified response. This failure would haunt the Seljuks and other Muslim powers for decades, until the rise of unified counter-Crusader leadership under Zengi and later Saladin. While the Crusaders were an external threat, the Seljuks also clashed with the Fatimid Caliphate, a Shia rival based in Egypt. The ideological contest between Sunni Seljuks and Shia Fatimids manifested in regional power struggles, especially over Syria and the Hejaz. The Seljuks aimed to assert Sunni dominance and reduce Fatimid influence in the Levant. At the same time, the Assassins, a radical Ismaili Shia sect, began targeting Seljuk officials, including the assassination of Nizam al-Mulk in 1092. This created a new kind of asymmetric warfare that further destabilized Seljuk authority. By the early 12th century, the once mighty Seljuk Empire had splintered into regional polities. The Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia, the Great Seljuks of Iran, and various Atabegs in Syria and Iraq. A fragmentation was driven by dynastic disputes, the challenge of governing vast and diverse territories, and pressure from both internal revolts and external enemies. The Seljuks were ultimately overtaken by new powers, most notably the Khwarezmian Empire in Iran and the rise of Mongol invasions in the 13th century. But their legacy endured, particularly in the Turkic Islamic synthesis that they helped establish in the Middle East. The Seljuk Empire's cultural impact outlived its political unity. They were instrumental in the Persianization of the Islamic world, patronizing Persian language, literature, and science. They also contributed to the architectural heritage of the Islamic Golden Age, laying the groundwork for later empires like the Ottomans, who would inherit both their symbolism and institutional structures. Perhaps most enduringly, the Seljuks proved that the Islamic world could be led by non-Arab, even nomadic, peoples who embraced and transformed the civilization they joined. The rise of the Seljuk Empire was one of the most transformative episodes in medieval Islamic history. It marked the ascendancy of the Turks in the Islamic world, the revitalization of Sunni Islam, and the shift of power from Arab heartlands to Persianized and Turkic frontiers. Through war, religion, and statecraft, the Seljuks shaped the political, cultural, and military landscape of the Middle East, leaving behind a legacy still felt in the contours of modern Islamic civilization.